Well, hello there. So, I wanted to share some of my 3D modeling and projects that I've made in the past and kind of like go through the history of like the journey of 3D modeling and how I've actually found it to be one of the more enjoyable art forms that I've ever really tried. And I kind of want to continue making more. I think this video it'll be kind of cool because it was like it'll show the progress that I made, more in depth scenes and actual models I learned along the way. Because I started modeling when I was in 6th grade back in 2011. I just found out kind of about like digital art. My grandpa had just bought the first iPad, which he was always so like into technology, and he showed me like some of the painting stuff. And after I did some digital paintings back then, and I was like in 4th or 5th grade, I was like, okay, well, my parents just bought a computer because we had like a really crappy Mac back at when I was in 4th grade, and my parents bought a like i3 Windows Vista thing, like really old school computer back when I was in 6th grade, and I was like, what? Well, let's see what's out there, let's test the waters, and I found Blender, and man, I just fell in love with it almost immediately, and it was just like, whoa, all this crazy stuff I can make, and so the first ever 3D model I ever made was this cup. It was don't know why. I think I was just like trying to go off of like something on my desk, trying to give an idea of what I wanted to model. I'm pretty sure I followed like a tutorial or two on how to use it, but I never really went in depth. I'm kind of curious what Blender looked like back then. Let's see, Blender in 2011. Probably didn't look too dissimilar than what it does now. Okay, yeah, it does look quite a bit different, but yeah, it was really fun. I kind of went away from 3D modeling though, got more into digital painting, and I didn't pick up. I'm almost positive I made like one or two other things, but they weren't good, and I never finished them. Like I tried to make a gun when I got into CS:GO a lot. I tried to make a Glock, but I didn't have the patience or the skills to learn Blender officially until I was like back in 2020 when I got a lot older. Maybe not a lot older, but older, out of high school. And the first project I did was this scene here. It's an indoor pool with like the water. It's kind of hard to see the water, unfortunately, but I had seen a few images of liminal spaces with like pools, and I thought it was so cool. At the time I didn't know the definition or the term liminal spaces, and this was actually the first ever delving into like the kind of art style I like a lot now that I'm finding my niche, which I like. I really like monotone. I like cool colored, kind of like calming in liminal spaces. Like I try to get the moonlight through the windows on the right and the very like bathroom kind of aesthetic with the tiles, and I don't know, there's something about liminal spaces that just calm me down so much, and I don't see them as eerie. I see them as the most peaceful thing I can experience. Because even when I go outside and I see just absolutely breathtaking scenes of nature and something that is just like awe-inspiring, I mean, not to downplay those things, but they bring me a different type of peace, than these liminal spaces do. these liminal spaces give me like pure peace. I actually, one liminal space I was able to experience in real life was one time back in my hometown, I was out like 2 a.m. I was driving home and it was super foggy out, unbelievably foggy. And it was so beautiful, so cool. So I decided to go over to like a outside mall, and it was open. Like I could walk around. Nothing was actually open, but like I was allowed to walk around out there. No one was there, and it was just like because of all the stores being closed and the lights were outside were on, and so it was kind of like, it was the perfect setting because of how foggy it was as well. I'll try and put some images up of what it looked like there. It was so cool. But that was kind of like my first experience with liminal spaces in real life. I haven't really had a whole lot other than that, but I'll never forget that. It was so awesome. Spent like an hour there just looking and walking around and just experiencing it. Shortly after I made this piece, though, I made this one, which is the Zweihanda, or like how I like to call it, the Swoy Boy, from Dark Souls. I figured I originally made just this Zweihander, and I was like trying to figure out like how I could take the picture, and I thought of like, well, maybe I'll make an anvil, rested on. So I made the anvil, and that was very fun. And like made the lighting as if it was like a hearth or like a crucible, furnace, whatever. And I had a really, really good time with this one. Both of these were on my old laptop that ran really horribly. I'm very surprised I was able to do as much as I was with these two. Blender crashed so many times when I was trying to make them. But after that, like these, I really loved these, and like I never forgot about them afterwards. But I once again went back to digital painting instead of 3D modeling. And until like a couple months ago, like start of this year, end of last year, I made a few projects. I followed a Blender tutorial, the Blender tutorial, the Donut Man. And I made the first one, which, let's see. Where is it? Here it is. I'm just pulling it up on my computer. So this one, I tried to follow it as close as I could for the most part. Like I didn't really like or care about the background sprinkles that he adds in his, but I still appreciated everything else, and I learned a lot through going through his tutorials, and so I decided to try and like alter it and make it my own and my own style, which I made for a Halloween themed donut. And I don't know if you can really see the fog, but the fog, that was actually quite difficult. I tried adding some fog and didn't turn out as well as I would liked, but that's okay. I really tried, like the lighting with the bounce, the rim lighting. The lighting was quite hard to like tweak and get in the right place, but I'm really glad with how it turned out, and the kind of like upshot of the like red, kind of like making it ominous. Oh man, I love it. I might actually, just thinking about it right now, I might even maybe have some like pumpkins like blurred out floating in the background, maybe, or something. But that's actually ironic because speaking of, the next I followed another tutorial, which I'll try and I will link these tutorials in the description. But I followed another tutorial for these pumpkins. Again, I really love Halloween, so I kind of wanted to stay on brand a little bit, and I made these pumpkins. I did not end up adding like the creases, but that's okay. I really enjoyed kind of like learning how to like cut into. In this tutorial, I really learned how to like cut into the object to be able to make the holes, which it's been like close to a year since I did this, so I kind of forgot. But I'm sure I'll be able to pick it back up easily once I try again. And I really love the lighting here again. That's something I really love, is just lighting in general. Something I'm learning about my art, kind of what I care about in art is lighting. Next, I made these. They're supposed to be feather earrings, and then I made like a jewelry box and like a kind of like a felt countertop to put them on. This was actually really interesting, learning how to like make the feathers, and because you have to use a hair component, I think it's called. I can't remember the exact name, but that was quite finicky trying to like learn how to do that and change the colors a bit and make it more interesting instead of just flat. And that was like, I remember like challenging myself to try and make it into a scene instead of just having like an object, kind of like the anvil and the Zweihander. It's just two objects. And like I tried to, a little bit of the scene was implied with the lighting because of the hearth or the crucible, but this was like a real scene I tried. I was planning on putting stuff in the actual jewelry box, but I didn't really get very far with it. And then I tried some sculpting with this mask, an Oni mask. This one I don't think I really used a reference for. I was just I really like Oni masks. I think they're really cool. I was also like at the time playing a lot of Payday 2. And so the masks in that game I really loved. And my favorite mask in that game is an Oni mask. I use it all the time. So I was figuring I might as well try and sculpt one, because I thought that would be interesting, especially like trying to figure out how to add like the horns and the actual facial features. So I kind of learned that like sculpting is pretty important. Building a model without sculpting can be quite tedious and time consuming, and sculpting is very helpful. And then my most recent project I've done, which I am probably the most proud of, and it's the most complex thing I've made. It's a kind of wizard, witch bathroom, kind of make it starry and magical. The inspiration for this was I woke up, or I can't remember if I woke up or I was just awake at 3 a.m. one morning, and the lights were out, and went in the bathroom to go to the restroom, and the moonlight was coming in through the window, just super bright, and it was casting this really beautiful glow into my bathroom. And because of all the porcelain and glass in there, it was bouncing around, and it just was so beautiful. Again, recognizing how much I love lighting, and how light impacts environments and whatnot. And so I was like, wow, I gotta capture this somehow. I gotta make this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I gotta try. And I tried painting it, and it didn't feel right. It didn't work out right. So I tried some modeling, and this was time consuming. This probably took me 30 hours, 30 hours to make in total. 30 might be a little high, but I've done this over the span of 3 different segments. I spent a couple days working on it, and I took very many months off, and I spent a day or two, and then I recently finished it 2 days ago. And I just love it, man. It was so enjoyable to actually figure out how to model the scene. What do I want to add into it and make it interesting? Because initially I didn't have the candles, and so it was just purely the moonlight and then a little bit of light in the orb. It's supposed to be a magical orb to the right. and it didn't look right. And those are supposed to be books on the bookshelf and like book stand. And I couldn't really see them. You still can't see them, sadly, but it's you can kind of tell what they are. Because I didn't want to add too much more lighting to where you could see it, because it would kind of defeat the purpose of that like moody, dark lighting that I wanted to base it off of because of what I saw in real life. But yeah, I added like the towel in the bottom left and the faucet. I actually I finished the scene, I rendered it and saved the image, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm missing? Hey, there's no faucet for the water in the tub. So I had to delete it, the image, and re-add that, and that was a nice touch. Initially I had it on the left side, but I put it in the center below the window. You might not be able to see it very clearly, but it's the like 3 objects, like faucet in the middle and the 2 knobs, below the bookshelf, directly below the center of the window. I'm actually really happy with how the like walls turned out. It's like kind of like the, I don't know how to describe that, kind of like swirly bits. And initially I had the tile kind of like a brick wall out the window, like a neighbor's house or something. But it didn't look right. And then I tried to add an image of one of my drawings that were kind of like, looks more ethereal. But that didn't look right either. And so I ended up switching the wall outside to the wall on the inside, and that I really like the way that turned out, and it looks nice. But yeah, it was just it's been an experience. Just so thankful for being able to discover 3D modeling and experience it, because with my art journey, not career, definitely not career, my art journey through my life, like I've always struggled with trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my art. And I've always drawn and like painted, but I hated it. I've always hated the experience of drawing and painting. I love the outcome a lot of the time, well, not a lot of the time, but when it turns out good, I love the outcome. But the actual process of painting and drawing is just grueling for me. And so I've always kind of been just really racking my brain on trying to figure out like, well, what am I supposed to do? And finding 3D modeling has been a blessing, because I get lost in it, and I actually really love it. And it's taught me how to appreciate the process of things instead of just focusing on the outcome. And I think honestly the outcome really shows how much I love the process, because this is like the most in-depth, the most me, like, I don't know if the word altruistic here is, I don't think that's correct, but just the most like personal artwork I've ever made, besides like my dinosaur in the clouds pictures. Besides those 2, like this is my most personal, and it fills me with the kind of happiness I've never really experienced with any other piece of art. So I appreciate it so much. I'm sure I'm going to be 3D modeling some things more in the future. I'm going to keep it as a hobby, though. I don't want to make it into a profession and ruin that for myself. I finally found something I truly love in art. No way I'm ruining it. Yeah, I really wanted to share these pieces of work with you, and hopefully you can enjoy them as well. And maybe this has inspired you to make art and 3D model for yourself, and really learn how, inspire you to learn. Because, I mean, looking at the progress I made a cup that doesn't even really look like a cup. All those years ago to now this scene, and implementing like 50 times more advanced techniques and implementations of things that I never would have even thought of back then, or possibly even Blender had possible as a things to do in the application. But it's just such an amazing journey. So I'm really happy to share this with you, and I hope you enjoy it for yourself. And tell me in the comments, like, what was your, if you're a 3D modeling artist, what was your kind of journey with that, and how did you get into it, and what do you like to make, and or if you want to whatever you want to share. But if you want to share also like your journey of like maybe you also felt like you had to make art a certain way. For myself, it was because of trying to cover insecurity and like make myself feel better, so I would make art for what other people wanted me to make instead of what I wanted. And that's why I drew and painted. But maybe you can relate to that, and you found 3D modeling or whatever art process it was for you that you found to enjoy. But just let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. And I hope you have a wonderful day. See ya in the next video.